Hello, my name is Carl LeVan. I'm a professor at American University in the School of International Service in Washington, D.C. And today we are going to be speaking with Jean-Baptiste Guiatan, who is a political scientist in Burkina Faso. And I have been working on democracy, democratization, African politics, and related themes for my entire career, more than 2 decades, not including a career in politics. And today I am beginning a new series of podcasts and video broadcasts around the theme of rights, reason, and representation. Rights, because democratic backsliding is putting the realization of human dignity at risk, and also because liberal conceptions of rights are facing new demands for recognition. Reason, because democracy, I believe, has the tools to discover and defend empirical evidence and empirical reality. Representation, because from Occupy Nigeria to Black Lives Matter in the United States, new modes of participation are challenging old assumptions and the limits of democratic institutions. So with that, I want to turn it over to Austin Aigbe from the Center for Democracy and Development in Abuja to introduce himself and to talk a little bit about CDD, which has been a really important partner in my education and a really important advocate for democracy in West Africa. Austin?
Hi, thanks, Carl, and thanks, everyone. Thanks, John, for being part of this session. Again, my name is Austin Aigbe. I work on the Center for Democracy and Development here in Abuja. CDD cover a bit of the West Africa region. We are particularly interested in actions around the West Africa sub-region. CDD was established in the UK in 1997, largely because of the under-democratization of the region, particularly in Africa. A group of young folks met in Oxford University to try to interrogate what was happening in Africa. And one of the reasons was because of the influx of military coup. There was a bit of agitation for democratization, and development was lacking on the continent. And these young folks came together and they started some form of reversing brain drain. And they got back and each one started to engage his own national government. And then, for example, in Nigeria, we had, in 1999, we had returned to democracy. CDD worked with the first ever regime after which is now called the Fourth Republic, to ensure some level of stability and demilitarization in the politics. Of course, there's a Ghana session, there's other West African areas. But it's really good to see in this conversation that whereas military coup has been almost a thing that is forgotten in the region, but the upsurge is something very remarkable to CDD because it was one of the special interventions that led to the formation of CDD. Hopefully in this session we'll talk more.
Great. Thank you very much for that introduction, Austin, and thank you, CDD, for your ongoing commitment to democracy, human rights, and demilitarization. So Jean-Baptiste, as I said, is a political scientist in Burkina Faso. He's studying in Ouagadougou at Thomas Sankara University, and he is just completing his PhD thesis on the role of neorealism for understanding the state response to jihadist instability in the Sahel. So I want to begin by just asking Jean-Baptiste, who I will also mention is an alum of the School of International Service here at American University. Jean-Baptiste, who's in charge in Burkina Faso and where are the civilian politicians right now?
Thank you, Professor Carl LeVan, for inviting me to this chat. I'm very happy and excited about it. And thank you, Dr. Austin, for participating in this chat. Okay, straight away, the ones who are in charge in Burkina right now are the military junta. Yeah, they call themselves a mouvement patriotique pour la sauvegarde et la restauration, meaning in English, patriotic movement for protection and restoration. And so these are the group of guys that are in charge in Burkina. The politicians, they are out of jobs. No political parties are not officially banned, but they are not working. So politicians are out of job right now.
And is there some expectation of when a transition timetable might be announced, or is it still too soon to say that?
It seems to be too soon to talk about any kind of roadmap, but for the time being, no idea about how long this military transition is going to take place and who is going to be part of it. And basically, everything is completely is blank. So everything is blank. So no one knows and everyone is confused.
It sounds like a very uncertain situation.
It does it.
I want to ask a different kind of question, which is, we're all scholars here. And when I look back on the classic studies of military coups by Jimmy Condé, by my colleague Oye Oyederan, Panter Brick, and others, there was almost a kind of choreography to a military coup d'etat. The parliament would be surrounded and suspended. One or two key radio stations would be taken over. The president would be put under house arrest. And then there might be a few military decrees limiting freedom of press or freedom of association. The recent events in Burkina Faso and also in some of the other parts of Africa, the recent coups, seem to be a little bit different. Did this one feel different to you as a scholar?
Not that much, but we may, on some aspects, there is a difference. First of all, this kind of military coup, maybe concerning Burkina Faso, then we used to have bloody military coups with the president getting killed, the case of Sankara, for instance. But this time around, the former president is safe, his family is safe, and the former government members are safe. So far, so good. But nonetheless, the choreography you have just talked about can be seen in this Burkina coup d'etat. So you have the seizure of a key strategic point in Ouagadougou, and then you have the president and his family being put under house arrest, and you have kind of unofficial ban on political activities. But of course, the freedom of the press has not been curbed yet, but we never know. So this choreography you have been talking about can also be seen. But nonetheless, there is some some difference between this current coup d'etat. This current coup d'etat seems to be part of what we call now in the Francophone countries, the new wave of coup d'etat, meaning young officers in the army decided to take over the power, and then they kind of put this new power in the legal form, like taking oath and oath before the constitutional court. Probably this military junta is going to do this kind of thing, follow the same path. But nonetheless, roughly, this it's really a military coup, so similar to the normal or maybe the ordinary coups we used to have in the past.
Austin?
Yeah, thanks, Ka, and thanks, John, so far for that information you provided. So maybe just picking it from the last comment. So this is usually considered a peaceful coup. So mine is to look at the political environment before the coup. Before the coup, Burkina it was very fragile. See, a lot of fragility in terms of people of security. Even with the elections, election was a bit challenging, and it created for disinformation, fake news, misinformation. Would you say that misinformation, or what role will you say or consider that disinformation and misinformation played in all of this narrative that led to the coup d'etat or that led to the peaceful coup, maybe not coup d'etat? I don't know the new narrative, the new conceptualization of what's happening now in West Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Austin. To the best of my knowledge, this coup d'etat, as far as this coup d'etat is concerned, misinformation did not play a very big role, because this coup d'etat was kind of predictable, and it was even few weeks before this successful coup d'etat, there had been a failed coup d'etat announced by the government. And so it was a kind of open secret. So misinformation this time around did not play a very, very high role. Because there was a kind of, as you have just put, there was a big popular discontent due to the fragility created by this Islamic insurgency, and also developmental problems that you know. And so this coup d'etat, it was a kind of open secret. So misinformation, to the best of my knowledge, did not really play a big role.
Okay, maybe I'll just stay there a bit. You said the government amplified failed attempts. Were those failed attempts not aimed to misinform populists, or you think it was real?
In fact, I may say that this kind of foiled coup d'etat or coup attempt announced by the government was a kind of tactics, was part of the tactics of these of the successful guys. I mean, the current junta, because the new leader, the leader of the current junta is in fact a friend to the one who was arrested a few weeks ago because of the foiled coup d'etat. So there is a kind of connection. So we cannot really call it a misinformation, a form of misinformation, but rather a kind of military tactics to get to maybe to kind of deceive the government and get their way through.
Okay.
That is it. So
okay,
otherwise, misinformation was not a big element here.
Okay. So let's pull up ECOWAS. ECOWAS is supposed to be like the hub of consolidating the region. What should ECOWAS be doing differently? Is sanction working? ECOWAS is clearly not able to unite these countries. What's your take on ECOWAS? Is ECOWAS still relevant? I don't know whether that word is right, but is sanctions working?
Okay, Doctor, I think your question is very, very relevant. Is ECOWAS still relevant in this Burkina crisis? Because ECOWAS is getting more and more unpopular here. The civil society organization, I mean, the public opinion, no one wants to talk about ECOWAS. ECOWAS is just representing itself. And I mean, and the head of state, that are the members of its club. But ECOWAS, politically speaking, in the public opinion, is not that much anymore. And it's the same case in Mali. So, and it's the same case in Guinea. It seems that ECOWAS has failed, as you put earlier, to manage properly this new wave of coup d'etat. But ECOWAS, in fact, did not change its kind of its way of working. That is it. And so it has failed to anticipate these new developments.
Okay, Carl.
But anyway, nonetheless, they can do something if ever they wake up and realize that something is wrong with their management style and come around.
Thanks, Jean-Baptiste. And that's an excellent question, Austin.
Thank you.
So in my research for my last book, Contemporary Nigerian Politics, Competition in a Time of Transition and Terror, I discovered that citizen concerns about insecurity when it came to voting in elections were less important than other types of concerns about government performance, such as the economy and corruption. But I'm wondering if this is maybe starting to change in Africa, because part of the analysis of the Burkina situation so far is that people have been very frustrated with the government's handling of insecurity. So this is really important because several other countries in the Sahel face tremendous security challenges. So do you think the way citizens are thinking about insecurity compared to other types of government performance is maybe changing?
Of course. Since the beginning of the jihadist insurgency, the main issue for, I may say, all the Burkinabe is the security one. Yeah. And so, but the question is this concern for security play a very big role in determining the outcome of the coming election? No one knows, because we need to take into account the element of neo-patrimonialism, meaning the role of money, cash money during election campaigns. So basically what it means is what? The more money you have, the more, the wider the campaign, political campaign you can stage, and the wider audience you can get, and then the more likely you can get elected. And so this role of cash money in election is another factor that we should take into account in addition to the security issue. But for the time being, this is not the concern of the Burkinabe. The military junta. The military junta want to maybe to establish their power, and then maybe for 2 or 3 years, and then start thinking about election.
Okay, thank you. So we're very proud of you here at American University. And so I want to ask a little bit about your PhD thesis, which uses the international relations theory of neorealism, a structural theory of global politics, to assess Burkina's response to insurgency and jihadism. And so structural theories, I think, have become very important again for understanding African politics with the engagement of Russia, China, and of course, Western countries across the continent.
In relation to, in West Africa was kind of, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. And so that's why I chose this topic of about the African state and the jihadist insurgency. So, and I think neorealism is really useful as a tool, theoretical tool to analyze these, the behavior of state actors in Africa, because it's about war, it's about managing war. And when you are talking about how to wage war, we are talking about the distribution of material capabilities. And when we look into the Saharian, the Sahel situation, situation, we see that this everything got worse when Gaddafi maybe was kicked out of power, and then the Tuareg people, rebels, came back to Mali, their home country, with big arsenals of arms, and these kind of changed the balance of power between the national armies like Burkina, Niger, and the Tuareg rebels. And then we have what we have. So we can really use in a very meaningful way neorealism here to explain the jihadist insurgency in Burkina Faso and the Sahel as a whole. But not even though we are talking about non-state actors, because the jihadist insurgencies are not state people, so they are done. But nonetheless, we can, if we reframe the theory, we can use it in a very meaningful way. And this is what I have been trying to do. Hello?
Thank you. Austin.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Carl. John, you apparently, we'll just take it further from the narrative of China and Russia. I wanted to ask, looking at the influence of France, particularly in the Francophone countries, we know what's happening in Mali, and of course, in even Cote d'Ivoire and elsewhere, the influence of France on the countries, like the big brother nature.
Yes,
so,
that is it.
Now looking at the new role of China and Russia, particularly again with Mali, the veto from the UN against the African Union, against ECOWAS, So, would you want to agree with me that if in Burkina, particularly, is spreading across the Francophone? I'm sure you Guinea-Bissau just escaped a fake coup.
Yeah, just yesterday.
Just yesterday. And will you agree with me that this coup are not necessarily because of fragility or of accusation of elected regime, but it's mainly because of the invisible hand of China and Russia on as the new big brothers in the region? Would you want to think in that light?
Basically, I will not systematically disagree with you, because Russia, and particularly Russia, is the main actor. Russia is becoming more and more influential in the Sahel zone, because we just recently they have just arrived in Mali, okay, and so Russia is willing to play a new role, but not only Russia, as you mentioned, we have China, but not only China and Russia, we have Turkey, and we have the Arab countries. And so these are new actors that are playing behind the scenes, and sometimes openly. And so we cannot systematically say, based on press releases, that no, China or Russia are not behind the coup or are behind the coup. That these are arguments or hypotheses that we should pay attention to while doing kind of crafting or drafting any kind of research proposal on the topic. So you may be right when you say that China, Russia, or I may call them emerging actors in the Sahel zone. So these actors, they are really challenging France, the big brother, what we may call the big brother. They are challenging France, and France is kind of taken aback. France is surprised by the aggressiveness of these new actors. And what is really important is what will come next? How will be the behavior of France vis-a-vis these new emerging actors? And this is very interesting from an international relation perspective, because France is losing small. So in Ghanaian English, small. Its traditional role of local hegemony. For instance, just yesterday, Mali has maybe expelled the French ambassador, so telling him to go. Yes. So this is something unheard of, maybe. And so maybe it's some sign. It is a sign of something. It's an arbiter of something coming big, something big coming. And so this is what I want to say. So you may be right. So just wait and see. And we have a lot of things coming concerning the Sahel zone. This is what I may have to say.
I think I agree with you with the systematic analysis, and just also state that emphasizing the expulsion of the French ambassador, based on the comment he made against the emerging actors, is very weird. So, Carl.
Yeah, thank you for that line of questioning, and also for that thoughtful answer, Jean-Baptiste. And this is perhaps my last question, which is to say, last year, I met with a group of senior Nigerian politicians, Nigeria being a country that has had a series of coups, but has been avoided that coup trap for a very long time. And CDD is working hard to keep it that way, to keep the civilians in control. But one of the concerns that they raised was they said the United States has not been forceful enough in condemning the wave of recent coups in Africa. And they were saying this last year, and just saying in general, the United States is not doing enough. And so with that in mind, I mean, I think it is hard to overlook that less than 4 months ago, America's top diplomat for African foreign policy towards Africa, visited Ouagadougou. And so now here we are, less than 4 months later, and the military is in charge. So my question is, was her message forceful enough? And is the West doing enough to protect democracy and advance democracy in Africa?
Okay, thank you, Professor. First of all, I would like to mention one particular fact that seems to be important. And this fact is that the visit you are talking about has not been covered by the local press. And so this seems that it seems to it has not been made popular. So it has not been covered. So I don't know the reason why, but anyway, we can analyze it from different perspectives. Another thing is that one piece of news that seems to be interesting, just this morning, I read from the local press that the US has suspended the Millennium Challenge account support to Burkina. And this support is worth 260 billion of the local currency. So it means that this big amount of money that Burkina stand to lose in this maybe in this new configuration and this new political situation. And so the question is, if ever this new decision, the American decision, is enforced, because it may not be enforced, okay? If it is enforced, and then the French and the international community follows suit, then how is the junta going to react? Because Burkina is a country that is aid dependent. And so if ever the international community, the US, France, and European Union want the message to be more forceful, they have the means for that. But for the time being, there's we don't see much impact.
Well, thank you, Jean-Baptiste, and best of luck with your dissertation defense, which is coming up very soon.
Thank you.
It's too bad I'm not on your examination committee because it sounds like a pass to me.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
It sounds like you'll pass to me.
You mean that I have passed?
Yes, you passed.
Oh yeah, I hope so, but officially the results are not out, so I'm still waiting.
Very well.
I'm still waiting.
And I want to commend the resources of CDD for those of us who are listening. And thanks so much for joining us, Austin.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. And thanks, John.
Thank you, Dr. Austin. Nice to meet you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Ciao.
Ciao.